The latest Battle of the Bridge is looming on the horizon, and as the Belgian Prince of Stamford Bridge hung up his boots, we ask, who will stand victorious? Who will step up and make their name in this next fixture? Mudryk, Havertz, Jesus, Jackson, Chelsea versus Arsenal is coming right up. But before all of that, we want to review our predictions for the first 8 games of the season of how Arsenal and Chelsea were going to do in their respective fixtures. Welcome to One Kick from Glory, and we are your hosts, Clive,
Greg, and Matt.
and we like to discuss the beautiful game, focusing on our beloved clubs, that's Arsenal, Chelsea and Liverpool, with occasional commentary on the rest of the league and issues that affect the wider football community. And we're going to start off not on the upcoming Battle of the Bridge or Eden Hazard's legacy, but we're going to start off on our predictions for the first 8 games of the season. We recorded a podcast back in the summer, which was 10 out of 10, and we talked about the first 10 games. We're going to look at the first 8 as game number 9 is coming up, which is Arsenal versus Chelsea at the weekend. But first things first, let's look at how we went and how we did. Before I get into the actual numbers of it, Matthew, how well do you think you did in your predictions?
I don't think I've done that well because I think I only had like 1 defeat and we've had 3. I think I had like maybe a spray over the odd result here and there, but I'm not looking forward to hearing how bad I got it off. So, we'll be interesting to see what I thought against what actually returned. So, that could change. But, I'm looking forward to it. I'm ready to be humbled by just how wrong I was.
It's a very interesting number of predictions. I'm just totaling up what you said. So if we put aside the scores and we just go by the results, out of the 8 predictions that you made, you got 8 correct. No, sorry. You got 6 correct out of 8. That's not bad.
That's better than I thought.
So you got the end result. In terms of the actual scoreline, that wasn't the case. We got the results right. And we're going to break down all of those as well. In terms of for myself, I'm just going through Arsenal's matches just to see what I said. Definitely got a few surprises there. I definitely got a couple of scorelines spot on for you guys, for Chelsea and for Arsenal. Obviously the derby, no one saw that coming, but that's fine. And neither of us gave a prediction for the Man City Arsenal game, but I did give an interesting quote. So I'll get into that in a second. But let's start off with the first game. We're going for Chelsea's first 8 games of the season. So we start off beginning of the season, Liverpool at home. The match was a 1-1 draw. Matthew, you predicted either a 2-2 draw or a 3-2 home win. You did say it was going to be a fiery game.
It was.
And it did live up to that. Looking back on that result now, in hindsight, do you think you were maybe a bit ambitious of expecting there to be 4 goals in it? Although you were saying a 5-goal spin.
Well, we had either team had the goal in the net at least more than once. Granted, they were both offside, and it was literally a tale of 2 halves where Liverpool had the first half and Chelsea had the second half. So at any moment, a goal could have come from like somewhere. But in hindsight, the actual game that came out, and me and our fellow Liverpool fan Mark, we agreed that it was a fair result that kind of came out in the end. Great start, because playing Liverpool at home at any time is not exactly an easy thing to do. So the game that actually resulted and the result that actually resulted was fair at the time, and kind of like, if we can do this to Liverpool, when I don't really have that too many worries against other teams, because I know just how well we play and just how how these young guns like came together, and just Nicholas Jackson looking like really exciting. Granted, he didn't even score, and at the time we only just lost Nkunku from the previous game in pre-seasons against Dortmund, so we had to kind of reshuffle it in a little bit over the case of a few days. So it kind of went like a bit of a plan B situation, but considering how the game went, I don't think I was too off the mark. At any point, another goal could have gone in and really turned the game so much. But it was entertaining. It was an entertaining draw. It was an entertaining draw. So with that, I'm still happy with that result. That's probably one of our best results this year, considering what happened. So
yeah.
Overall, I was still happy from that. Still very, very happy.
I called it a score draw, and I said either 2-2 or 1-1.
Yeah,
so I'm pretty happy with that one.
Nailed it.
I kind of felt that was how it was going to go. And then we move over to West Ham away, which you actually lost 3-1. I said you would lose 2-1. I was pretty clear on that. You said you'd win 2-0.
Should have won 2-0.
Yeah, You should have actually. You had enough chances to.
Should have.
But you kind of threw that one away. And then the game, Luton at home, we both called that 3-0 win. Can't free prediction. Not needing doesn't need much analysis there. And then comes Forest at home. And you said either a 2-1 or a 3-1 win. I said a 2-2 draw, and you ended up losing 1-0.
Should have been a draw.
Which is crazy. But and like I said, I always was curious about how the games would pan out in terms of your momentum. But that was a big one, not going the way you expected. And then, of course, we move on to Bournemouth away, which you called as a draw. You called it as a 1-1 draw. I called it as a 2-1 win, because I thought that would be a game you'd bounce back from, the Forest draw. But you ended up not getting a points. But again, you got that right instead of a draw. What was the reason why you thought it would probably be that way at the time?
I think that like the Forest game, because the Forest game was the first game back from the first international break, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think that. I think at the time he was still very much tinkering with the players that we had. Like Sterling was out of form, Mudryk wasn't getting enough games. We were still missing like a clinical striker. Jackson was having a really torrid time because in the previous game against Forest, he missed an absolute sitter. I mean, I could have scored that, which would have done his confidence a world of good. And you can see that he was going through that patch. You remember he had, I think it was a shot or a cross where it was like he sent it to Portsmouth for all I care. I have no idea. But, it just kind of shows that, as much as we do play him as a striker, he's not your natural. He can play there. He's just not natural to it. And that game kind of showed up some of his disadvantages, some of his flaws a little bit, which allowed Bournemouth in just a touch. I mean, bear in mind they hadn't won the game, they still hadn't had a game, so that was like the reason why I thought we'd bounce back just a little bit. But we've never liked going to Bournemouth in the past. We've never liked it. So that's why I called the draw in the first place. It's one of our many bogey grounds, including every other ground in the Premier League, to be honest. So I didn't feel great watching that game when the draw was. It felt like I'll take it as a win because it was poor that game, really, really like poor, and was just part of our patch where in September where we were just not hitting the right notes for just whatever reason. It was just kind of low confidence in the team. I think Pochettino was still feeling out what his best squad was and just picking players in different positions, despite the fact that he was playing in the wrong positions for a long time. But now he's got it right, but we won't know until Saturday. So, yeah, we'll just pour that game. Really, really poor.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting way how things have panned out. And then obviously off the back of that, we had the game which I thought was going to be the crucial game for the season, which is your match against Aston Villa. You lost it 1-0 at home. You thought it'd be a draw. I actually thought you would lose. I said either 1-0 or a 2-1 loss. I did think it was going to be the key game to kind of get you back on track, and obviously it didn't. And then we have the final two games of the run, of which we both called a win against Fulham. We didn't say a score, we both said we'd win. And then Burnley, you said a 2-0 win. I said a 3-1 loss. Obviously you beat them 4-1 away from home. A good game to kind of end the fixtures prior to the international break, going into how things are now. So do you feel like you're in good shape ahead of the game at the weekend?
We had 3 on the bounce since that Brighton game where we kind of rode our luck. It's like the performances and not just that the performances, but the will and determinations kind of just shot up as a standard. So in that Burnley game, we went 1-0 down. Normally, what happens, as a Chelsea, for having all the possession and all the chances, normally if it goes 1-0, that's it. Or worse still, they score another one. But that didn't happen. We fought back for the first time in a long time. We fought back from a losing position and we got our reward. Players are starting to click together. Others are starting to come into their own, like likes of Cole Palmer. Conor Gallagher's getting better. Raheem Sterling and now kind of find his place. And we've still got Mudryk in reserve after his good game against Fulham. Brozier's back as a striker. We're nearing closer to the end of the year, which means Nkunku will be coming back. And even just all around the team, there just seems to be. It seems to me like he's found the team that he's happy with and the shape and formation and he's happy with. So we ended on a high. So here's hoping that we kind of come back on a high against you guys, where we give you a bit of stiff competition. I mean, I have a rough idea of what the result I would like against the result I'm going to expect. But no, it was just great to see a great comeback and seeing them enjoy their football again. But my only thing is that we did it against Burnley, we did it against Luton. We got to be doing. Okay, we did it against Fulham, which granted they're a bit of a mystery team. But we're going to have to, if we're going to start climbing up that table and making some serious progress, we're going to have to start doing it around teams that in the past have been around us. and not just your, promoted minnows. We got to start seeing this against better teams, because the easy run's done. The easy run's over. From here on in, it gets tough, because I think after you we got Brentford, and then Newcastle, City, Spurs. So this is now is going to test how good that formation is, and just how up for it the players are really going to be, because I think it's going to be a tough game on Saturday.
It is definitely a big game indeed, and we're going to come on to like our final predictions prior to wrap things up. But I guess for you, Craig, just looking at those run of games for Chelsea so far, they're currently sitting 11th in the table on 11 points, 9 points behind the joint leaders. But how do you think that looks in terms of what you were expecting Chelsea to do pre-season going into the year, and how well they're performing so far? Do you think that's where their place is good for what they want, or do you think there's a lot more work to come for them?
I feel like they're getting into good form now. I feel like after the last defeat they had, who's the last defeat?
Villa.
After that Villa game, I think they kind of regrouped, and I think the manager changed the formation. I think he dropped Sterling for the next game, I think if I'm correct, and they won. And he started Cole Palmer and started doing well. So I think he's finding his feet as a manager at Chelsea, and he's finding the right players into the right system. Modric scored his first goal for how long the other day against Fulham. So I feel like he's finding his feet now. They are where they are because the table don't lie. They had some poor results where they could have won. Like the West Ham result, they could have turned that around. They could have won. If they scored their goals in the first half, they'll win the game. Forest at home, they had so many chances. Nicholas Jackson could have got 4 or 5 goals. They lost that game. Who else did they lose to?
Aston Villa.
Aston Villa as a team, they're going to be in the top half of the table this season, maybe challenging for top 4
and that
or
win,
top 6.
And that win put them in form.
And they're in Europe as well. They're doing quite well as well this season. So I feel like where they are right now, they're not too far from the top half of the table. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
I think we're a point off the top from the top half of the table, because Man United got 12, and I think we're only 6 points from the top 4. So we're not.
It's not bad.
We're not far. We're not far off from where we need to be.
Can I just interject there for 1 second? Yeah. I would say that with Pochettino as well, I feel like, as I said before, he's very good with young players. I think all they need from the board is to give him time to stamp his authority at the club, and you'll see what he can do. He done it at Southampton, did it at Tottenham, did it at PSG. Or that experience, not a very good experience, but he knows how to work with teams, isn't it? He knows how to do it. So yeah.
Yeah, he tried his luck at PSG. It's just an impossible place to get anything working, because that place is just a poison chalice. So it's very difficult to know exactly how it's going to pan out. So I think the big question now is going to be we're going to get onto that. Let's talk about Arsenal. So I gave my predictions for the first. We both did, Matthew, for how we thought the first 8 games would go. We both expected a win at home against Forest. I was thinking 3-1. Matthew was thinking 4-0. It was 2-1 in the end. And then we go over to Palace away. We both called the win, but we didn't call the scoreline. So I thought it'd be either a 3-1 win to Arsenal or a 0-3 win. And Matthew thought 3-1 as well, but actually it was a 1-0 win away to Palace. I guess for you, Craig, how happy were you when you looked at the first 2 games of the season in particular? How happy were you with the performances you saw from the boys?
I wasn't happy with the performances. I wasn't happy with them. Like the first game, we should have killed off the game at half time. We had so many chances to score, and then second half we just went quiet. We kind of stepped our foot off the gas, made a couple of changes. The biggest game change when Timber got injured in that game, and then when he came off, we looked lost in the second half, and then in the end we were kind of hanging on in that second half against Forest when they scored to make it 2-1. We didn't look the same again. We looked out of ideas. The best result was the Crystal Palace game. Was a good result, the 1-0 win. That's another game we had chances as well. When Eddie Nketiah could have had 4 goals in that game.
Oh, that's when we tried to check the keeper as well.
Yeah. We could have killed off that game in the first half. So I wasn't really impressed. But then I think the Man United game, I was really impressed with the Man United game when we thought we lost the game, when we came back and Big Declan Rice scored the goal to make it 2-1. And then
We'll come on
Jesus-
to that.
Okay.
We'll come on to that. Let's not jump ahead. So the next game would be Fulham first before that Man United game. That was a 2-2 draw at home. That was a very disappointing draw. We both said Arsenal would win. I guess for you, Matthew, looking at that performance, and I think that's one of the key things about Arsenal this season. It's like, compared to last year, there's been a massive difference in performances, in that we're not as swashbuckling as we were last season. We would run through teams and just be, dominating matches for fun. This year we're dominating territorially. Like if you look at this new thing, it's this new stat they call field tilt, which looks at how much possession a team does and how effective, where the game is played, basically. So if you have a lot of possession and you play it in the opposition's half, you have a greater field tilt. It's a bit as in the game is all going one way, away from your goal. And for most of the games this season, Arsenal have had a greater field tilt, which means that we've been dominating, creating chances, not taking them. And so performances have looked a bit all over the place in that, like, players like Havertz hasn't been as clinical as we would have expected or hoped. Players like Nketiah hasn't been as clinical as you would have needed. And so as a result, the performances where we've had some narrow wins, you look at the underlying statistics, they should have been bigger wins. But that game in particular, that 2-2 draw at home, how did you see that from your point of view?
I was surprised. I was surprised because, we can all talk about the teams that we know and other teams around us, but Fulham you always get every Premier League season has a 1, 2, 3 teams where they're an enigma, where you just don't know what's going to transcend. And Fulham are indeed one of that teams. Like, it was such a bizarre result because I think they scored first, then you scored again, and they scored towards the end. I think it was a case of a little bit of errors on your part, which kind of, I think, enforced Raya coming into the team eventually. But you've smarted up from them. You've come a bit more. You said less swashbuckling, and less swashbuckling means more efficient. And I think after that game, your efficiency is kind of improved, and you know that because you beat City eventually, and that's how you do beat them. So you might not be as gun-ho as you used to be, but there's a reason behind it. You got a whole different set of team and different players that come in that don't fit the swashbuckling narrative. You brought in players like Declan Rice to do so. You brought in players like Havertz to do so, to then bring on Jorginho to do so. For all of Jorginho's flaws, he's very good at like slowing down and making him just a bit more organised and a bit more, just there, a bit more regimented. Which regiment will win you titles. If you don't believe me, ask Pep Guardiola. Ask Fergie, ask Mourinho, and hell, ask Wenger. That's what wins you titles. Games like that, you look at any season, games like that will come along where you get a result where it's like you don't lose, but you were skating so much where it's too close to a loss. And I won't say you won't go through that again. You might get a game against, Palace at home or something where it can happen, but you ride out the storm and you do what you got to do to get through the game. So I think there may have been I don't know if it was a case of worry, but it's kind of a case of let's see what he's doing. Let's see what Arteta's got planned. He's got a whole other bunch of players they're going to need to embed into his system and make them what we want to be, and that is really hard to play against and really hard to beat. And you have to say that bar that result and the Spurs result, that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in a bit. And of course, the Man City game, very lovely stuff, that one. We went on to Man United, play Man United at home, beat them 3-1. I called it, I called a Rashford goal. I felt like that was just a given. I said it would be a 4-1 win. Matthew said it would be a win, didn't specify the scoreline. But as you said, Craig, Declan Rice turned up, got his first Arsenal goal, crucial goal to put us back in the lead and help take us over the line. How impressed were you with that result? And do you feel like it's been a key game this season in kind of settling the fan sentiment that we're going to be there again challenging? Do you think that game made
Definitely.
that happen?
After the disappointing result against Fulham, the Man United game was a must-win. We had to win the game because City were winning all their games at the time, and Tottenham were winning their games as well. So we had to keep up pace as well. And I feel like when Garnacho got called offside for that goal to make it 2-1 to United, something just clicked in Arsenal. I don't know what it was. They just woke up out of a bad nightmare.
I can tell you, Craig, what happened. The goal got flat. Listen, the ball went in. The Emirates, the referee might it was going to be peak for Anthony Taylor. Let's put it that way. But when they flagged it and VAR did its magical thing and worked properly for once, and it was called offside, the roar at the Emirates Stadium, it was like we scored. It was deafening. I should know. I was part of it. But from that point, I was like, something's different here. Like the players, it's almost like it woke them up.
That's what I mean, yeah.
But not just woke them up, it was almost like how are we going to let these lot do this in our patch? These lot, Man United. But not just Man United, this Man United. They're not even worthy of the name Man United. How are we going to let them do this in our patch? No, I ain't having it. And something just clicked. And we were playing with more intensity, we were playing with more directness. We just had them pinned back. They had nothing after that. I mean, Hodgland had a couple of little tussles with Gabriel, and he looked good. And I think he's been a great signing for Man United, and I think he will do really well as the years go on. But, mate, anyway, those 2 late goals.
Big Deckers and Big Jesus.
Jesus said Dallo shop.
Send him back to Portugal.
He said, listen, get me a couple of drinks while you're out
Man
there.
said, taxi for Dallo. Taxi.
and get me some shrimp on the barbie while you're at it. Sent him shop. That was, that was amazing.
All the memes afterwards as well.
Statement win, man.
Yeah.
Statement win.
So I think, that was definitely a big one. And then, of course, we had the following game against Everton away. Now, we know last season we gave Sean Dyche his Everton boost, and we were determined not to make that happen again. I think Beto up front looked really good for them. But we got, I called it, I said it'll be a 1-0 win away from home. Matthew said it might be a draw because he thought it could be one of those tough ones. But we managed to ride it out. And I guess for you, Matthew, do you feel like, again, as you say, there's games in a season which you don't want to lose, don't want to draw. Do you think this is another one of those games where you look at and think, come the end of the season, those 3 points, the way how we held on, the way how we got that goal and just looked so resilient against a very strong physical Everton team who played good football on the day, do you think that's another result that will actually go again to adding to what Arsenal want to do this season?
Well, definitely this particular one, because this is one of the exact results that end up costing you up next season. And that's a difference to 3 points in a game like that where you're not going to have it all your own way. You're not going to have a go against a manager who's going to match you tactically. They're going to be physical, they're going to be tough, and they're going to be intimidating, which is Sean Dyche to an absolute T. But you've passed, that was one of your hurdles from last year, but you got over, battling it out. This is how, if you're going to go ahead and win titles and make statements in the table, you have to go to these places and get a bit ugly sometimes. You have to get real ugly, and that's how you have to match ugly with, and sometimes you just got to match ugly with ugly. You got to out muscle them, you got to out thing them, you got to out strong them, do whatever. It wouldn't surprise me if half these players hit the gym for about 5 days straight before this game, because it's just the kind of thing you're just going to have to do. And Goodison, for all what it's going through right now, can be an intimidating place to really go to. So the difference from this is one of the hurdles that you cross over, and let's not forget you're still one of the only other teams to be unbeaten in the season, including this fixture. So that 3 points could prove like priceless towards the end. Absolutely.
No, indeed. And then of course we had the 2-2 win for Spurs in the derby, a result that none of us saw coming. I think we both predicted like a massive win.
I thought that was a win, yeah.
Comfortable win for Arsenal. Disappointing draw. I think from watching the game back as well, we really should have won it really. Jorginho, coincidentally enough, this is a game which was not really best for him, and he struggled with the directness of Spurs, and they pressed him really well to get the ball off him, to get the winner, to get the equaliser. Sorry, I mean they're celebrating like a win. What can I say? To get an equaliser at a time after we just scored to make it 2-1, so it's very disappointing. And it contrasts a lot of his performance against Man City, which we will kind of discuss a bit more. And then we had Bournemouth away. We both called that as a win. I thought it would be only a 2-0 win, but we hit them for 4. Finally, the handbrake got taken off. Everyone's happy about that. Then it's Man City. I said this on the podcast last time. I said, because I didn't get, neither of us actually gave a prediction because we said it was too close to call. But I said, if Arsenal beat Man City at home, they win the title. If Arsenal draw with Man City at home, Arsenal win the title. So let me say that again. If Arsenal beat Man City at home, Arsenal win the title. And if Arsenal draw against Man City at home, Arsenal win the title. But if Arsenal lose against Man City at home, Man City win the title. That's what I said. I stick with it. And we won 1-0. And I want to start with you, Craig. How impressed were you with the team's performance in that game?
It was like watching two heavyweight boxers boxing. Both of them were just jabbing. Let me see. Oh no, let me jab again.
Well, it was definitely no KSI versus Tommy Fury, that's for certain.
Definitely not. No pun intended. It was very good tactical. Like Arteta and Guardiola both know each other very well. Obviously, Arteta used to work for Man City. I was Guardiola's second right hand man back in them times, and Arteta kind of outdid his master, as they will say.
Return the cones.
Yeah, tactics. It was like, all right, how do we stop Man City? Stop Haaland from getting through. Stop the through balls. It was like the midfield battle in that game. Declan Rice versus Rico Lewis, and
Bernardo Silva
versus Jorginho,
and of course Agent Kovacic.
Kovacic thought it's on this guy should have been sent off. But I thought that we read it well. I thought we went to halftime 0-0. The goalkeeper was a bit shaky in the game, but we were able to go in at halftime. Arteta must have given them a big rollicking at halftime because the second half we were a different team. I think the biggest change in the second half was when we brought on Martinelli for Trossard.
Yep.
And then Martinelli was running at them. And ironically, it was the substitutes that won the game for us. Thomas Partey came on, Havertz came on, who everyone's been giving a lot of stick to. And Tomiyasu got a lot of stick last season as well for the mistake against City last season. So all three of them came on. Partey played the ball up to Havertz. Havertz played the ball up. Tomiyasu headed it to Havertz. Havertz flicked it back, chested it down, flicked it back to the match on the Martinelli. We won the game. Everybody in the Sky pundits were saying, Arsenal going to lose this game. All of them had to eat humble pie. So
everyone except for Theo Walcott.
Even Gary Neville was saying that was backing City to win. Everyone was backing City to win because they thought we haven't beaten them for a long time at home.
Or at all in the Premier League.
Not at all in a long time. So, but I thought we were in better form than them, to be honest with you. I know they were winning all their games, but we were in better form. And I know we lost the Champions League game that week, that Tuesday, before we went into the City game. But I thought at home we will beat them. I felt confident in that game. I didn't feel like we would lose the game. I thought, if anything, we'll get a draw. It was going to be a draw anyway until Martinelli scored the goal. So we got 3 points, confident boosting, the whole stadium was erupting. So it was a good win.
And I want to just point out one key detail, and it's the move itself for the goal. Because I've watched it back numerous times, and I keep seeing different angles. And there's a very important detail which I really want to highlight, and it's what Tomiyasu does and why he does it. So the ball is getting cycled. I think Declan Rice gives it to Partey. Anyway, the ball's with Thomas Partey. And they have a bench cam on Arsenal's YouTube. It's really good. You should watch it if you have time. But they were showing the bench cam. So they were saying Guardiola talking to his assistant, blah, blah, blah. Then you look over to Mikel. So Arsenal do like bench cam, but you can see the pitch view as well. And Mikel just shouts, Tommy. And then does this gesture, like he puts his two fingers together, his left index finger, right index finger, if you're listening and watching, and taps them together as if to say get close, right? And then if you watch this phase of play, you can see Declan Rice is like looks around the corner, looks again. Then he says something to Partey. Before he says something to Partey, Tomiyasu has one check over his right shoulder, second check, and he notices there's a gap between him and Foden because Foden is not touch tight. And Tomiyasu sprints up the pitch like a man possessed. He was running like Naruto chasing after Sasuke, for those who know. Speed. And then Declan, you can see he's shouting at Thomas as if to say, hit it. And then Thomas just floats the ball over, right on the money, on Tomiyasu's head, nods it down. Like Craig said, Havertz chests that ball down. And it's a great chest control because he just put enough weight on it to drop it where Martinelli needed it. Because if he put too much on it, he has to take a touch to control it. If he puts not enough on it, the defender might come out and get to the ball. Foden's running to close him down, but he's not close enough. Ake and Saltfish turns his back on it. You never turn your back on the ball, mate. You got to take it on the chest, and it just clips off him, and it's in the back of the net, and we're all happy and we're all laughing. But I guess for you, Matthew, like Craig said, that was like a boxing match. That was a slog of a game, tactical masterclass. Both teams nullifying each other. Both managers know each other really well, and you can see that in the performance. But how impressed were you with Arsenal? Not to just go toe to toe with City, because we did that in the home game last season in the league. We did it in the FA Cup game, and I think the FA Cup game is a better reflection of this match because that game was similar tight margins. And on the other side for Man City, it was Ake who got the winning goal because we were tired and some players weren't defending properly. Whereas this time around, Ake helped us score the winning goal. You're welcome, son. But how did you see that game?
Nah, it was massive, like for you guys conquering that hoodoo after how many attempts over the years where you've just been second best for the whole time. And it wasn't that long ago where I think you got hit 5-0 in the first half and then against them in the league to where you are now, which arguably wasn't that long ago, you know, but I think some of the team that were there then are still there now. So it just goes to show the work that's gone in with the players you've got in and the intent and the organization and the plan that you've had to take you this far. So you have to give credit where credit is due. You've caught them at the right spot. I remember I did say that if any time you're going to take them is going to be now. They're all out of sorts. They're missing players. We've lost a lot. Not just the fact they lost a lot of players. We've lost a lot of generals in the team that make a difference. Like, you know, like Mahrez is gone. Fernandinho obviously retired. I think Gundogan is going to be a bigger loss than they think because he was their ace in the hole. You put him on, something will happen. You know, he did it when they won the league a couple of years ago over Liverpool. You know, he comes up with a goal here and there. And he, you know, put in a performance, someone like that. This City team is still very, very new in the way they've taken on a lot of new players that may not know what the City ethos is. But take nothing away from you guys. You still had to turn up and do what you did, and you caught them napping. You know, you had to work so hard to do that, and you had to weather a couple of dirty moments where, you know, Kovacic twice. What was that boxing match where Mike Tyson took a chunk out of someone's ear? Who was that?
Holyfield.
Yeah.
It was like that. And then we had to where you just had to stay up and not complain and be like, no, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. We're not gonna start badgering the ref. We're not gonna be thinking we're gonna take this on the chin. Like, if you're gonna do that, we're gonna fight even harder. And we're gonna come out and win. I don't know the result of that particular boxing match. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think Holyfield won on points, something like that.
Well, there you go. Well, there you go.
I think Tyson got disqualified.
Well, they didn't get disqualified. They should have got a red card, 2 red cards, if that's the way we're going about it. But you weathered the storm this time. You weathered it. You're like, nah, we're not in. You're not gonna be bullying us like that anymore. Now we're not the Arsenal of old. We're the new emerging Arsenal. So, nah, I think that's a statement. If Everton and Man United was a statement, this is a big statement where this is serious. This is very, very serious.
And I think this will beat the treble winners, the team that won all 3 trophies last season.
You beat the treble winners. Beat the treble winners.
Beat them in our own backyard. And you know what? It's just 2 games in a row we beat them because we beat them in the English Super Cup, also called the Community Shield. But hey, it's getting rebranded. And when the league catch on, you guys know you heard it first. And that's good momentum for us. And it shows that we can do it. We can go toe-to-toe with them. We can give them a good game. And we can get a result. Speaking of a man that used to go toe-to-toe, a man that knew how to get a result, a player that I am so glad no longer plays for Chelsea, Mr. Eden Hazard, hung up his boots this international break. He's now officially retired from football. A player that comfortably will be one of the Premier League greats. Where he ranks, that's discussion for another day, because we really want to have Mark back for that one, because some interesting pause. But for you, Matthew, to start things off, what's your enduring memory of Eden Hazard?
Just magic, fun, unpredictability, and that he was one of ours. Every club has a player where like he lit up the Premier League and he was ours, and that's who he was for us for about 6 years. He was around, he was ours, and this every time just what he could do sometimes, like that natural ability on the ball and just that squat frame, like a bull terrier sometimes. That short, strong, quick kind of thing where he just keeps on going. Just love playing it. I remember when he first burst on the scene in the league, and I'm like, we haven't had a player like this in ages. I mean, the last player we had like that was probably like Zola or something, and he was playing for us. We just won the Champions League with his new exciting talent. I couldn't wait to see what we did. Granted, the team wasn't the best. We didn't do that well in the league per se. We got knocked out of the Champions League very early, but it just didn't matter because we were just watching him play and doing what he does and seeing things in the Chelsea shirt he hadn't seen for so long, and he's doing it in our yard. Like when he first I'll always have good memories of Hazard 17. Number 17 Hazard was more dangerous and more deadly than you can ever think because he was fresh from the French league of that time from Lille, and he just tore up the league like it was zone for so many years. It was just so fun to watch, and watching his highlights again was just this. Whenever he got the ball, you knew something was going to happen. Even if we didn't even win the game, you'd just go in there and just be happy just to see him and see what he does. And he delivered in some like really crucial moments. And he just, it was. He's not a player that you can do stats with. You have to watch him. So I think with a few players, you have to see what he did and what he meant, not just to Chelsea, but just to the Premier League. He made the Premier. He was part of what made the Premier League so watchable for so many years, among the other greats that we had around there at the time. And there's just so many like key moments and performances, and bear in mind, this was a lot of people claim that he was not even operating at full capacity, and he still did what he did over those years. So if he was offered even like further capacity, I mean, it just like what. But it was what we got for what we got. You can't take those memories away, and some of those really like key goals against Liverpool, Arsenal, West Ham, some of the goals he scored, like just the Spurs one where he won Leicester the league. You're welcome, by the way. Just like, I mean, it feels like we're losing players like him in the Premier League. The way football's changed, the way we play, and the way the managers want you to go about, and we're not likely to see players like him anymore. Like that kind of just explosive talent. Like, and we're gonna miss him. But I feel like we got his best years. And that's always something I'm going to take with me, is that we got the absolute best out of him for the time he was around. But yeah, I'm going to miss him. Really going to miss him. Great player. Great player.
You're definitely going to miss him. I'm glad to see the back of him. Personally, when he left Chelsea, I was like, hallelujah. No more repeats of Coquelin getting spun like a blade 55,000 times. But for you, Craig, like, what would you say is your enduring memory for Eden Hazard? And where do you think he ranks in that kind of all-time debate of players? Because a lot of players, there's even a guy that's currently playing right now in the Premier League, which some could argue he's a better Premier League player overall, but how do you rate Eden?
Quality player. When he was like, he was just electrified. I remember one goal he scored against Liverpool when he got the ball from the halfway line, went past 3 or 4 players. I think it was in the League Cup. It's a League Cup game.
Yeah, it was a League Cup game because
we
we're
went
losing
past
that.
4 or 5 players. Yeah, buried it. I remember the game against Arsenal when he went past Coquelin. Coquelin tried to stop him so many times. Coquelin went flying, buried it.
Blade.
There was another goal he scored against, what game was it? It was another team he scored
He scored a really good one against Liverpool where he just gets it on his right foot and just pings it into the top corner.
Yeah.
But that was the exact same goal he did against Spurs to win Leicester the league.
That's the one I'm talking about, the Spurs game when he played a 1-2 with Diego Costa and he bent in the top corner and all the Tottenham players were like, that game, ironically, was the season when Leicester won the league.
Yeah.
He won the league for Leicester that game.
Absolute key.
And I remember the Tottenham players were fighting or arguing with Chelsea. It was a massive brawl.
Because we were losing that game.
I know, it was a massive...
We were losing
after it was 2-2, it was a massive brawl. I remember the goalkeeper from Tottenham was fighting the Chelsea staff. Pochettino had to get held back. It was I remember that. It was scenes after the game.
Unbelievable.
I think was it Dele Alli? Someone got banned for...
I can't remember who got banned. I just remember
somebody got banned for something that either they pushed someone in the face or something happened after the game.
High stakes, man.
Yeah.
High stakes.
But where would I rank Eden Hazard in the top Premier League player? Definitely in the top 10. But the other players who have been in the league, like I would say, for example, like a Robert Pires who did a lot. You got players like David Beckham. You got players like Cristiano Ronaldo, Mohamed Salah, Ryan Giggs. Who else was an impactful winger in the Premier League that I forgot?
Top 5 heads hard, isn't it?
There's so many, but those are the ones I can remember off by heart. But those are the ones who in the top 10 in any order that made a massive impact in the Premier League. And he left Chelsea at the right time. He left Chelsea to go to Real Madrid, won the Champions League. He didn't play a lot in Real Madrid.
Didn't work for him.
But at least he got to win the Champions League at Real Madrid. So he had, to be fair, could he have had a better career? It's hard to tell. He won the big trophies that he needed to win. So happy retirement, Eden Hazard.
Enjoy, man.
Happy retirement indeed. Well, like I said, So it's always tough when a player retires at an age like that. He's only in his early 30s. And
32, man.
you just sort of hope he'd play for longer. But he did have a long career, starting, I guess, at the top level from 19 and just kept going. Had a very good run in the Premier League. The big question is when you look at them in terms of like influential wingers, Hazard versus Salah, that's a big debate. But we'll set it for another day because Salah is still going strong. But if you look at their careers and the impact they were having age-wise, I think you could argue Hazard has had a longer career in terms of like effectiveness. But Salah is probably had a better career in terms of what he's done at the biggest level. But it's each to your own. I think I'm just glad that we both had them in the Premier League, and it's been a pleasure witnessing them and what they've been able to do. I guess it's a final thing as we look ahead to the weekend. Matthew, you did say that you had what you were hoping for and what you were expecting. So what are you hoping for and what are you expecting?
Hoping for a 1-0 win. 92nd minute from whoever. I don't care who. Could be Sanchez for all I care. 92nd minute corner. What do I think will happen? I think we're coming in both on good form. I think it's going to be a draw.
Craig,
dare I say it, a 0-0 draw as well.
I think away from home, we're much better away from home than we are at home this season. I think the pressure's off us away from home.
That's true.
And our form is better away from home. I feel that if Martinelli's fit and if Saka's fit and if Jesus is fit, that's the front three I will start in that game. Declan Rice, Partey and Odegaard is my starting three midfield. In right back with Ben White, centre back Gabriel and Saliba, left back Shevchenko, in goal. That's where it gets a bit tricky for me. I don't know, David Raya again, I guess. He's kept them 4 clean sheets now. So
Played against City as well, didn't he?
So I would say that's my team. What I think would happen, if Chelsea don't defend well, and against Martinelli's got a good record against Chelsea, so has Odegaard as well last season, and Saka's got a good record against Chelsea. In Nketiah as well, he'd be on to improve a point if he's not starting. So I feel that if Chelsea become slack and don't take their chances, Arsenal could go and win the game. So I think it'll be like a 2-0 or 2-1, I would say. But, as Matthew said, it could be a draw. Because both teams don't want to lose the game. But I think Arsenal got more incentives to win the game because of London derby against your massive rivals as well for the Premier League.
We could do what we did against Villa, only this time we're protecting a 0-0 draw, not a 1-0 loss. So if you want to protect a score result and it's not going your way, that's where you do it.
And our record at Stamford Bridge the last couple of seasons has been very good. There was a stage when we used to go to Stamford Bridge and lose all the time, but the last 3 or 4 times we've been there now, we've won a lot of games there now. So I do feel confident that we'll get the win on Saturday. But if we have to be alert in the game, we can't be playing good in one half and then sleeping in the second half. We have to be on it from the kick-off till the 90th minute or 95th minute or whatever, how many minutes to go in the game. So, yeah.
Yeah, my final thing, both of you, is who's going to be the game changer for both teams? So you, Craig, who's going to be the game changer for Arsenal?
Martinelli.
And for you, Matthew, who's going to be the game changer for Chelsea?
Gallagher.
Wow. Martinelli versus Gallagher. It's the key guys to watch. And we will be back with the reaction to that game on Monday. And you'll hear it when we release it. And this is us signing out for One Kick from Glory. Let us know in the comments what's your favourite Eden Hazard moment. Do you think Chelsea are having a good season? Do you think Arsenal are having a good season? Or is it a poor run of games? And should we all be concerned about Tottenham? Will they finally win a Premier League, which they've never done? Or will it all be okay and normal service resume for them at the Lane? Who knows? But this is us signing out, and we'll see you back next time.
Peace.